I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Stephen Basita, your host, and you're on my podcast, Get It, with the Social Nostra Network. And today, my guest is Tevya, Celli. And so one of the big things that we've been going through in an ongoing series has been about women empowerment and women that have their journeys, how they've gotten to where they are. And Tevya has a long journey that she's been on to success and where she's at in her career now. And thank you so much for joining us today and letting us hear a little bit about your story and where you've ended up and all the little things that have transpired through that time.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, for those who are seeing you for the first time, which is, I'm sure, a lot of our viewers, go ahead and walk us through your path, where you're at, and the ups and downs and getting to where you're at, because you do have an impressive little resume there.
I've got a long resume because I'm old. So I started out, a finance degree in college, was a financial analyst for Rockwell International, big space company, aerospace company. Did that for about 1 year and 2 days. And I hated it so much that I had been in the process at the time I was adopted. So I was searching for my birth parents, and I had hired a PI, and he was so impressed with how I got information. And so he asked me to come work for him. It's like, there's not many females who can do this work. I think you'd be great. And so I remember calling my father, who was a president of a huge steel company in Los Angeles. And I told him my plan, and he said, you have to wait until your 1 year work anniversary at Rockwell, because we don't look at resumes that have employment that are less than a year. Okay. We don't look at that as a good thing, and we just pass them up. So literally I waited till 1 year and 2 days, and I walked in and I quit. It took off some time, and then I took this guy up on his offer to go be an apprentice and work as a private investigator, which was amazing. In order to get your license in the state of California, you had to have 3 years, 6,000 hours worth of experience before you could test and get your actual license. So I did that. And then, a week later, decided I was going to open my own company, and I did that. Specialized in all sorts of different types of investigations. I worked for the prosecutor's office, it's called the public defense, conflict panel for the county of LA. I was on a panel, so if there were two defendants in the same family, it got farmed out to a different attorney, outside attorney, and an outside investigator. I did that. I did workers' comp fraud. I did a lot of stuff, but I was one of the few, I think there were only 2 other in California, female-owned private investigation companies. And so I started that company in 1991, and then had it and got tired of seeing the negative. I loved it, and I'm still always that person who am watching everything around me. I pay attention to every detail. My wife thinks it's scary how I retain information. I remember what color car someone's driving. It's just a natural part of who I am now. But there was so much negative watching, always seeing the bad in people, that I just wanted to get out. Okay. So I started spinning.
Okay, so really quickly, before we get to the spin stuff. Yeah. So did you find your birth parents?
I did. I found my birth mother. So I did. I met her. I have a couple half siblings that, look, sometimes you're really grateful that you were raised by the parents who raised you. And that was my case. I was super happy to, you wonder when you're adopted is there a better life out there, or do I have it good? I had it so good compared to my half siblings. So I'm very fortunate that I was adopted.
Okay. And so when you met your birth mom, I mean, how did that go? Was she excited? Did she?
Yeah, she was. I mean, I think it was something that weighed on her, because she kept her other 3 kids. I think she got pregnant. It was 11 months after I was born. So I have a half brother that's just, a couple years younger than me, just under 2 years. And so I think that was something she carried with her, like what could have happened, what did happen. So it was interesting, but, I think it's also, I was so grateful for the way I was raised, how I was raised, all the opportunities that I had growing up, really stable home with really great parents and role models. And
so do you still keep in touch with her now?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Just because someone has your DNA doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be a part of your life. Right. And I think that was a great journey for me to realize at some point that I might have her blood and her DNA, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she's really my mother.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So then you continued on. And so now moving into cycling.
So I had a fun, great career as a private investigator, and realized I wanted out. And so I was indoor cycling. I became friends with some people, and we would go indoor cycling in this prefabricated room attached to a famous gym back in the 90s called Todd Tramp's.
Okay.
And they had this fitness studio where they put in, 40 spin bikes. We rode on blue carpet, a wall unit air conditioning, those prefab tiles as ceiling tiles, and it was disgusting because you get LA's hot in the summer, and it was just the condensation, the room was disgusting, you're sweating on carpet. So week after week that carpet just took in so much sweat. And one day during class, one of the ceiling tiles fell down on us.
Oh wow.
And it was expanded this much. And at the time, one of the guys that I spun with all the time, and the instructor and his wife, we were outside and we're like, we kind of deserve better than this. Paying a good amount of money. And at the time, it was the late 90s, and it was $15 a class. And that seemed like a lot back then to play. There was really no boutique fitness.
Right.
And we decided that we would create a studio that offered a premium price, premium product. Okay. So we went to a meeting. We had a meeting at Sushi Roku to discuss our business plan And we were sitting there, and it was gorgeous at the time. It was the only sushi roku that they had. It was the first one. And one of my partners knew the owner, and he's like, I love this decor. Let's make a spin studio that looks like this decor.
Okay.
So we hired this, kid at the time, Dodd Mitchell, who had only done Sushi Roku. And he designed this spa-like high-end boutique. We had bamboo ceilings in the hallway, slate floor walls, rock showers, little waterfalls along the hallway. Really high end, and we opened charging $20 a class, and that was in 1998, and that was a lot, but it was the epicenter of the celebrities and the movie industry and entertainment industry. So we quickly had sold out classes. You would be in the middle of, you'd have a class, and in one class there'd be Nicole Kidman, Justin Timberlake, Jodie Foster, Cameron Diaz. I'm forgetting people, but so many celebrities in one class. It was crazy. Where
one goes, others tend to follow.
Yeah, and there were deals that were made in that studio. At the time, the president of NBC TV, Scott Sassa, was a client, and he decided that he sent out an invite to all the agents and all the producers to come join him in my 6 o'clock class. And so that class became the place to be. Every top agent in the city, it was 20 people on a wait list every day, just crazy stuff. So it really became like the it place to go.
That's cool.
And at that time, I was still moonlighting as a PI, and then finally decided to give that to the guys. I had a bunch of people who worked for me, a couple guys that decided they wanted to take it over, and finally walked away from that and just full-time dove in deep to indoor cycling. And never in a million years did I think I would become an instructor, but it happened and really paved the way for me for my career for the last 20 years. So yeah. And in that space, so much happened. I mean, we were the first, Julie Rice, who founded SoulCycle, one of the founders, was a client of ours. She moved to New York and then quickly was missing Body and Soul was our studio, and reached out and was like, I want to open a studio. Would you care if I called it SoulCycle? Not at all. We worked together over the first couple of years. We'd help each other out. I'd help her out. Her and Elizabeth came to LA and kind of worked on some stuff together. So they created SoulCycle out of that. Ruth Zuckerman, who was part of that, then left for SoulCycle, for Flywheel, and created Flywheel. And in that, I ended up, Flywheel opened in my spot. So, and I became the creative director for Flywheel in LA, and opened their studios. And that was, kind of the pathway to going to a bigger company, obviously, than a one studio situation, going into well-known. And they had some organizational changes in 2014 where the founders, one of the founders had to step down. They had some private equity money that came in. They took over pretty much, didn't like the way it was going, and decided that I would do something else. And so funny enough, I'm a vegan. And so I big vegan baker and stuff like that. And I really wanted to open a drive after I left Flywheel. And then CycleBar started knocking on my door, calling me, wanting to meet. And I just wasn't sure if I wanted to get involved. They had sold 100 franchises, but they hadn't opened a franchise studio yet.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a program. They didn't really have a model, nothing really. I was like, this could be a major bad decision if I go there. And then I started thinking about how cool would it be to do what Soul and Flywheel did in big cities.
Right.
And put it in Indianapolis and Oklahoma and all these places where Soul or Fly would never go, but these cities where I know what an impact that indoor cycling had on me and
Right.
my community, giving them that opportunity. So I decided to give it 1 year, and now I'm in my 6th year, and here I am.
All right, so a couple questions real quick.
Yeah.
Follow up here. So, all right, I know you're married.
Yep.
And so when did you meet your wife in this journey here?
So my children are with my, in a previous relationship. So I share joint custody with my ex. I met my wife in 2014.
Okay, so you were married once before that.
Not married, but domestic partners.
Okay, when were you domestic partners with your first partner?
Yeah.
So when did that partnership? So the kids that you have with your domestic partner, when did you guys start off?
Back in, God, it was 2004. We were together for 10 years.
Okay, and then now you have a wife now that you met in 2014.
Yep.
Okay, and you have 2 kids.
Yes.
And so really quickly, because I'm a dad, so how has it been being a mom and balancing out your work and everything else that you've had on your plate while going through all this stuff?
It's through COVID and everything.
Just like life and all the journey you've had so far.
I mean, being a parent is probably one of the greatest opportunities I think we get to have. It's challenging. There's so much humility in being a parent. We mess up all the time. The opportunities for growth are always there. It's not us always being the teachers. Sometimes we learn, we're the ones getting schooled a little bit. And I love it. I mean, I love it being I didn't become a parent until I was in my 40s. So for me, it was probably one of the best shifts that I got to have so far in my entire life. I got to, I opened businesses. I had a good career. And then to have that happen was literally by far one of the greatest things that could have ever happened to me.
And then going back to when you had your cycle studio and you had the classes, you had all these different celebrities and stuff coming through, you obviously started to build relationships with some of them, I'm assuming. Yep. So do you still stay in touch with any of them?
I do. I have some that I still stay in touch with. I did a lot of private spins with celebrities. So I'm close with some of those people. I actually, the funny thing is that kind of, and I think anytime you have a boutique kind of a studio where your community has gone to for 10 years, you forge these relationships, and even as you move away from it, you still keep those relationships because I run into people no matter in LA. It could be at a concert, it could be at a football game. My wife thinks it's hilarious. Because she's a producer, so I'll be on set and someone will come up and be like, "Oh my gosh!" So they just have this attachment to you because you were that person they relied on for their sanity in a sense. That's where they came to release, go through whatever they're going through in their lives 4 or 5 days a week. So you do keep those relationships.
So Tara, when we first started dating, you know, we went out to places, and I take her to different places in Orange County, but I've built an empire for myself in Orange County between my different businesses. So people would always come up and say hi to me, and Tara would be like, who are these people? I'm like, well, I don't, because I also do a lot of public speaking.
Right.
And so between public speaking, my basketball business, my gym business, I have a lot of kids that I trained when they were younger, and they're now professional athletes. And so I get, you know, now that I have like professional NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, MLS, UFC fighters, all these people I train, well, they'll be like, oh, I've got this great coach. You should come check him out. And so I have more and more people coming. What's up, my love? Speaking of kids, this is the joys of coronavirus. And
I see her whenever I'm talking to your wife. So hi.
Can you say hi?
Hi. You know, Mommy. You called Mommy yesterday.
I call Mommy all the time. I do. We're on the phone all the time.
For your iPad.
It died.
Okay, go downstairs and ask Mommy to charge it. I'm going to use this, okay? Love you. Thank you. Yeah, so it is funny because I'm from Washington State, and I grew up in a small town. So of course I always had like most people, I'm sure, you know, I always just had this like elevated perception of people that are famous.
Sure.
Right? You just kind of automatically grew up with them on a pedestal. You don't really understand things. And then when I moved to California, I train some of the top selling, like award-winning hip hop artists, rappers that there are. I've trained a lot of people in the entertainment industry. I was actually acquaintances with Kobe Bryant, and I know that he passed on not long ago, but I know a lot of really high-level athletes too. Even if I didn't train them, because of the worlds that I'm in, we cross paths and do stuff together. So I have a dozen NBA guys that I'm actually friends with. I'd never played in college against or in high school or anything, but we've just formed relationships over the years because we all have clubs and stuff, and we're always doing stuff with each other. And so when I'm sitting down and, you know, I don't really post much of this stuff on my social media.
Right. I
try to keep it kind of private. I don't want people to get the wrong idea or anything. And, you know, once in a while we'll take a picture or something, and I'll like show my dad or something when he comes down, or if we go up, you know, or my mom, and it's like, they're always so impressed. And it's so funny because they really are, you know, I always tell people like, they're really the same as the rest of us.
Yeah.
They're recognizable, right? They're doing a job. They're getting paid for a job. Yeah. They get paid more than a lot of other people, but it's a job, and they have the same everyday struggles that we all have. They have relationship problems and kid problems, and they get, you know, it's so funny. But until you step inside that world, you'd have really no idea.
You don't. They are just like us, and you know, they're just no different.
Yeah. So it's funny hearing you talk about your classes and how, you know, this is such a place for them to get out there. So I was like, yeah, they just like the rest of us. They need to exercise. They want to get it out.
Yeah, and so many of them, there are a few that wanted to do private classes, but for the most part, they were together because the other people there were all in the industry. So it was like agents, producers, directors, network presidents. So they felt like they were amongst their peers anyway. Right. But yeah, just normal people.
Yeah, me and Tara were in New York 2 years ago, and dude, who was the actress we walked with? We ended up leaving a restaurant as a really famous actress. I don't remember who it is anymore, but she was walking in with her parents, and Tara had two of her friends with her. And as we passed them, like I saw her, and it didn't really. I know she's really famous. I know she's been in a lot of stuff, but I don't watch much TV or movies.
Sure.
So now it's going to just escape me. I'll remember it after this. But as we're walking out, she's walking with her parents, and her two friends looked, and they're like, hey, let's go get a selfie with her. And I was like, I'm not getting a selfie with her. I'm not even going to ask her. I was like, that's come on. She's out with her parents. Like, leave her alone. They went back and asked, and she politely declined. But I just thought it was so funny because they were so, like, excited and happy, and they had like this flood of, you know, it's just like leave them.
It's funny when people don't have that, because it's fun to watch their reaction. I was at one of our master instructors. We were at a lunch or breakfast 2 years ago, and he was from New York, and there was an actor who walked by, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's my favorite actor." And I go, "What?" And I looked over, I go, "Oh." And at the time I looked, the actor looked at me, and he came over, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Tevya," and he hugged me. And my master instructor just stood there, his mouth was open, and I introduced them, and he just could not believe it. And when he walked away, he was like, "I can't believe that just happened. I mean, I should have taken a picture." I'm like, "You know him?" I'm like, "It's LA. We know it's normal." Like, that just happens, I think, too, in LA a lot. It does happen.
The one thing I've been miffed about for a long time. So I'm a huge Mark Wahlberg fan. Love Mark Wahlberg. He's on my top. If I could meet like 5 celebrities I want to meet, he's one of the 5. So my buddy who is a DJ, he DJ'd our wedding, actually. He got invited to DJ Mark Wahlberg's wife's birthday. And he hit me up and said, "Hey, man, you want to go?" And I was like, "Yes." Little did I know that I'd already committed to a date night with my wife, which I'm very strict on. So we have our date night the same night that this is supposed to happen. And this had been in a stretch where our date nights had been disrupted a lot. We had a few things going on. It was during the time we were having some of the miscarriages too. And so it was important, And so I asked her, I was like, "Hey, do you really want, can we move the date night to the next night?" She's like, "I can't do it." I think it was like Saturday night is when I asked her to do it. She couldn't because she had something going on. So I politely declined my invite to go. That was probably the one time I was really bummed out, because I really wanted to have a chance to meet Mark Wahlberg, because I was really excited. That was one of the few guys I really wanted to meet. And then I trained Chris Evans' brother for a while. And Chris Evans is one of those guys that I've won because I'm a huge Captain America fan because of Marvel obsession. The couple parties that they threw is like, I can't do it. I don't have time, and it's not going to happen. And I've just accepted defeat with certain things. I feel like there's certain people I'm going to meet that I don't really want, that I've never had that that aspiration to.
Well, rumor has it that he works out all the time at one of his F-45s that he owns in the valley. Yeah. So I have some friends who work out there, and he's there every morning. So he's around working out like every other.
It's not that important to me.
Yeah.
Because the one day I show up, he's not going to be there anyways.
Probably.
But
probably.
Yeah, it is a small world, and it is funny, trying to explain to people. It really just, because there are people that you run into, like for Kobe Bryant, I ran into him a dozen times before we ever even sat down together in the same room and started having conversations, and we ended up coaching against each other a couple of times. So I coached against him and his daughter that died with him, Gigi, and it's crazy. And I didn't even take pictures with him. I have pictures coaching against him beside parents, because we sat 2 feet apart, because the courts that we had to coach against each other on, we were arm's length away. So I had fun talking trash to him. Every time he'd talk to the ref to complain about something, I'd be like, "Dude, they're not going to listen to you. I already paid them off. Don't worry about it. Just quiet." And every time I try to get my girls to listen to me, to the 2 worst games my girls ever played were against his team, because they wouldn't focus. They were all so focused on looking at him. Every time I tried to help them to say something, they'd be looking at him and be like, "Hi, I'm right here. Listen to what's coming out of my mouth. Have your hands up." It's just so funny. Good times. Well, so moving forward here, you get into, where you're at now, which is CycleBar. And so walk us through that last little bit of the journey that you're on here now. And
CycleBar's great. I mean, look, I started the company. We opened our first franchise in November of 2015. The first studio opened, and to be a part of something where we went on from that point to October 2017, when Expo bought CycleBar, we opened in that 2 short years, we opened over 100, and I think it was 123 studios, which is a lot. Roughly 10 studios a month. So it was crazy to be a part of that, creating really a brand that is recognizable from city to city, state to state, especially for those people who would maybe be in Jersey or LA, and then they'd be in Dallas. So the people who would travel, that they can go to a CycleBar and have the same experience, no matter what state or city they were in. So it was just a crazy 2-year period. When Expo bought CycleBar, all the employees were let go except for me. I was the only employee that was kept on. And, from there really just was a huge part of, shifting in our sales model and the way that we were opening studios, advancing education for that. And now I'm VP of Experience. So I really handle anything the customer feels when they walk in, that experience from when they walk in the door to walking into the community center room, into the theater where they have the class, out and back. That's kind of where my eyes are. So I work a lot with your wife in marketing. I work a lot with sales. I work obviously with education still, really to make sure that we provide that experience in every one of our 204 open studios. It's challenging.
Yeah, I know. And since we've all been in the, I know coronavirus is slowly, lockdowns are easing and stuff. And but I've been home because my gym unfortunately had to close and we had to dissolve it for now. So I've been home a lot, being a dad, and of course listening to Tara on all the phone calls and stuff, and then helping, I guess, give advice when she'd ask for it. But so into your personal life. So when did you know that you were a lesbian, and when did you come out, or how did that whole thing happen?
I think I knew always, but I didn't know. I mean, obviously I grew up, in 70s and 80s. So it's early 80s. I graduated high school. So it wasn't really, there weren't a lot of gay people out in the world.
Right.
So I knew that I definitely knew I liked girls, but I didn't talk about it. So I think it wasn't until really college where I was, came out, and it really never was a thing because my parents were great. They always kind of knew because I was the tomboy that played every sport. And my best friend was a boy. So they just knew. It wasn't a thing for us. And then even with work, any job I ever had, I think I was just comfortable in my skin. And I think that when you're comfortable in your skin, it's not as big of a deal.
Right.
So, and again, living in LA, it would have been different if I was in somewhere in the Midwest, but living in LA, it really wasn't as, oh my gosh, she's gay, stay away, I don't want to catch it kind of vibe, which you get. I remember the first studio we opened in Indianapolis. It was a suburb outside of Indianapolis, and I walked in looking like me, and I had on, I grew up in a family where my dad was a Catholic Italian and my mom was Jewish. So I had my mom's Jewish Star of David on, and she had passed away, and I took it, and I still wear it to this day. And the franchisee that I walked into literally looked at me and he goes, "So just so you know, in this community, you belong to one of two churches. So you might want to put that in your shirt, hiding. So I was like, so they're cool with the gay, but they're not going to be cool with the gay Jew. It was just the first time, because I lived in LA and I was either going to New York for work a lot, or I just never.
So what was the two churches?
They were just these really, very more of a born again Christian kind of churches where they did not, they didn't associate with people who were gay or Jew. So
I was confused because I was like, what does David have to do with what church you're with?
Well, there's like, he just made it clear that there weren't any Jews in the town. So I was like, well, and then I think I made a joke I laughed because I was like, so wow, I'm screwed because I'm a gay Jew vegan in a town.
That's a mouthful.
Right? There you go. Ironically, I was there for like 72 hours and it was like fruits and vegetables were all I was able to eat. And salad with olive oil. So I was happy to get out of there, and I've never gone back.
Okay.
I haven't gone back. Being a vegan and traveling as much as I did in the very beginning of CycleBar was definitely difficult going to places.
Well, it's hard just to eat healthy when you're traveling. I've had a lot of
technology.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked because I'm not sure how, my phone's connected to my computer, but I put my phones, anyways. Yeah, I, having to travel for basketball and stuff all the time, it's so hard to eat healthy, especially when we're like doing tournaments.
Yep.
I'll be in the gym for 16 hours. Well, I can either eat what's there or I cannot eat. And I usually end up not eating most of the time. And then if I get to sneak out, but anything near sports complexes is fast food. So I'll usually end up just having to bite the bullet. So like during my coaching, like when I'm really like heavy into coaching, I'll find myself getting a little more out of shape than normal. And then as soon as that's part of my, especially the high school season ends, and I get right back into my fitness routine and eating healthy. Of course, it's easier to eat healthy when I get to come home and me and Tara, we cook, and she cooks more than I do, but we cook healthy. And when that's not happening, I'm always on the road. That doesn't happen. And I start to definitely see the change, which is.
Yeah, I pack rice cakes, almond butter, bars, raisins, all sorts of stuff with me when I travel, just so that I always have something to eat in between those, times, especially on a plane, because it's sometimes hard to get vegan food on a plane. And I am a strict vegan. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, so for people who are seeing this and want to follow your journey, what are ways that they can connect with you or follow what you're doing?
Tevia on Instagram. I mean, I post here and there. I'm not a huge social media person, but I do post a bit for families and friends stuff and obviously CycleBar. But that's pretty much it. I've done quite a few podcasts. I'm in Alicia Silverstone's Kind Diet book. If you are at all interested in being vegan, I chose to be vegan for health reasons because I was diagnosed with MS 14 years ago. And rather than go on medication, I kind of went the holistic plant-based diet route and have fortunately, knock on wood, been in remission for over a decade now.
Good.
So I'm strict vegan for that. And same reason why I'm not in the office right now, because I am high risk. So I'm stuck working at home, just like Tara is stuck at home too. But love it and excited that I get to be at home and see my kids a little bit more and not spend 2 hours in the car every day.
Where do you live?
I live in Burbank.
Oh, Oh, you commute from Burbank to Irvine every day?
I do. Some days I don't do every day. I was going into the office originally once a week. Because when I first started CycleBar was located in Cincinnati. I call it Cincinnati. So I would fly to Cincinnati twice a month, and I'd spend 6 days a month in Cincinnati. So, I'm super disciplined. Obviously, I've had my own businesses, so I know I can get work done at home. So when I went to work for Expo, when Expo bought, I looked at Anthony. I was like, I am not driving to the Orange County, the OC, 5 days a week.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it was really, I was able to do everything that I did at the time, going down once a week, sometimes, here and there twice. And then this year, actually, as I took the VP role, I started going down 3 days a week. And honestly, some days on the way home, depending if there was one accident, I'd be in the car for 3 hours.
I can't do that drive. I have to drive out to Burbank once in a while for basketball stuff, and it doesn't matter what day, it doesn't matter what time, it's a nightmare. But
it is a nightmare. But you get used to podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I also enjoy, sometimes I don't listen to anything, no music, nothing.
That's just pure quiet.
I just have quiet.
Just think, yep.
Yeah, and so it's like active meditation in that, 2 hours, and so rather than, and I have a really comfortable car, so if you would have had me do that maybe 5 to 10 years ago, I might have been really angst and angry about it, but it's not as bad. It's not as bad because I don't mind the time. I don't want it every day,
right?
But I don't mind it 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that drive's tough. I used to have to drive to LA all the time, and that sucked. Burbank's even worse. But yeah, when I first moved to California, I was living in my car for a little while on people's floors and couches, and so I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was doing bartending, security, training. I was working at Circuit City. I was doing modeling, so I'd have to drive to downtown LA for modeling stuff, which always sucked.
The worst.
And every time that they want like auditions or anything, or you have to go for photo shoots, so it's always like between 11 and 4, which means you're hitting traffic you're hitting the end of the traffic going up there, and then you're hitting all that crappy traffic coming back.
There's not a good time. I mean, literally, unless it's like 5 in the morning maybe, or it's 5 to 6 a.m., anything after 6 a.m. is a nightmare.
I guess it depends which way you're going, because I used to have a girlfriend in Hermosa Beach, and I could leave her place at 4:30 in the morning and still hit traffic, and it would take me an hour and a half to get back to Orange County.
Yeah, it's crazy because we have a studio, a CycleBar in Santa Monica, and the owner just called me and she's, would you teach a couple classes? And I'm like, that commute from Burbank to Santa Monica could be longer than the commute to Irvine. Yeah. Absolutely not. Like, you can't pay me enough.
I was just in Santa Monica 2 days ago because I'm doing consulting for a business.
Yep.
Developing a brand new leg of their business. And so I had to drive up there. Sucks.
And half the people aren't even on the road. That's the crazy thing, right? So if everybody was back working, it would even be another hour to commute.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only saving grace doing this job, where I have to drive all over LA, because you're still not at full capacity, but it's getting there. Traffic the last couple of weeks have been real tough.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
Feeling fortunate I'm not there yet, so.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you so much for joining today.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Letting us see a little glimpse of your journey and how you got where you did and all that, those fun stories. I didn't know, I know we've talked before, but I had no idea about some of the celebrity stuff, which is always fun. Whether it means something or not, it's always fun to be able to tell those stories.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, especially the fun, Nicole Kidman used to sweat on me as I would be working her out, so hilarious times, but good times, good people.
Well, thank you so much. Well,
Thank
you
you.
have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Go hug that wifey of yours and that gorgeous little daughter of yours, and congrats.
Yeah, thank you so
What's
much.
coming.
Yeah, we're finally at
So
the 14th marker. That's very exciting for us.
Yeah.
So yes, the lockdown has been good for us. We can't do anything, so
Yeah.
it's been good for Tara. She is home all day, and as far as because we were so active and so busy and so much stuff going on, so it's been good for her to just have to slow down.
Yeah, I've been saying to people that if you make it through COVID and lockdown with your spouse, you're with that person forever.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
You can really get
going through.
Yeah, the stuff, especially with kids, right? So if you can manage that, and it's golden. You're stuck. It's good. Nothing's ever going to change. You're stuck with that person. You're good. I think this was probably a challenging time for a lot of people, but also a good time to realize that they're with the right person, or that they're with the wrong person.
Yeah, and those divorce, I just saw the stats that divorces have taken a very heavy increase lately.
Sure, yeah. So I'm happy that we both had really good experiences.
Oh, for sure. Yes, me and Claire keep joking about how we really do like each other, and this has worked out in our favor, so that's been
right?
good.
Me too. Awesome. Well, good. I look forward to meeting you in person one day.
Yes, soon. And thank you, everybody that's joined today. This is Stephen Basita. I'm on the Social Nostra Network, and you're listening to my podcast, Get It. Take care and have a wonderful day.